What's going on, everyone? This is Ryan with Automatic Comics, and in this video today, we are going to be taking a look at the top 5 graded comics that sold on eBay over the last week. So with this is specifically CGC graded books that I'm looking at this point. Eventually, I might expand this to include PSA or CBCS as well. I don't think, at least on the PSA side, we probably have anything that gets up into this price point yet. It's possible, and maybe with the CBCS too, but focusing on CGC. So these were the 5 biggest sales that I saw from eBay last week. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to check out each of these books, see how they actually performed versus what we might expect from them with the current market. I'm also going to show you how to actually confirm the price that this book sold for, because it's one of those things. I hear people, like I just had a comment recently where somebody said that they always go and check against eBay sold listings. And if you're not looking in enough detail, those eBay sold listings may steer you wrong. But here's the first book here that we're going to talk about. It's an X-Men #1. It's actually a conserved copy. So this is one of those that could throw you off if you are not familiar with CGC grading. And so you've got the label up here, and it looks like, it's like a blue label, what you would expect for a universal book. But it has this little gray bar on the top that says conserved. It says conserved above the grade. And you can see a little note on the label there, and it says conservation includes staples replaced. So there are very specific types of restoration that can get a conserved label. It is still restoration. Don't let it fool you. Conservation is restoration. It just is a way to get it where you don't have the purple label. You still get this blue label with the gray bar. And so with this one, it replaced the staples. That means that it would have to have been period correct staples. You couldn't have just replaced them with, something from your desk stapler or something like that. It would have to be period correct staples. But man, like such a questionable move. I don't know when, who knows when these staples were replaced. They could have been replaced 20 or 30 years ago, but that can have a pretty significant value difference just with replacing those staples. I'm guessing there was a little rust on them, maybe something like that, and someone decided to replace them to try to prevent that rust from migrating into the book, but can have a big impact. But let's see if it actually did. So the price says $13,204.05. But again, don't let that price fool you. You always need to confirm what it actually sold for. And so what I like to do, I've talked about this a number of times, if you have a seller's account on eBay, you have free access to their product research tool. And so what I do is I take the name of the listing, I copy it, I put it into the product research tool. You can see that here. And then it gives me the actual sold price for this item. And you can see it sold for $11,884. So it actually sold for roughly $1,400, $1,300 to $1,400 less than what it shows on eBay. So that's why you always have to check that, because it could really throw you off and have you make an expensive mistake if you're using this as your reference point. But let's go check out X-Men #1 and just see a conserved copy is not going to come up often. That's going to be a little tougher to price. But if we look at a 5.5 universal first, look at that. This is pretty surprising. 11,400 for the last sale, 10,000, 10,800. Like a universal copy right now, I would price at roughly $10,500 to $11,000 in a 5.5. And someone paid $11,884. They paid more for a conserved copy, for a restored copy, than a universal. It makes me just wonder if they didn't realize what the conservation was, or maybe they didn't care. I don't know. But let's see if it got pulled in here. So we added the restored or conserved notes here, and let's see, where's the 5.5? Yep, so 5.5 staples replaced, 11,884. So you can see that how GPA does pull in the actual sales number. It doesn't have that 13,000 whatever that was shown on the front on eBay. It does show the actual sold number. And yeah, that is a surprising number to me. You could say it's really strong. You could also say it's pretty surprising. And it's a good looking book. But I bet you if you put this up on like Heritage, and went to auction, man, I bet it would go somewhere down here, 7,000. Like this 4.5 conserved. Let's see what was done to that one. So we can't see the actual book, but we can see the, well, we might be able to see it here. So yeah, so this 4.5 conserved, what did it have done? Cover cleaned. So this 4.5 went for 7,000 versus what we would see with a 4.5 universal. Man, again, really close. Surprising numbers. I mean, I would have put a 4.5 universal at like 7,500. So yeah, I mean, those conserved books both getting some pretty strong numbers. Very surprising to me. But hey, I mean, the sale is the sale. That's the number. And it sold for $11,884. Very impressive sale for a conserved copy of X-Men #1. Because yeah, especially like, this is just, you know, my little piece of advice here. When you're talking about books that are Silver Age, Bronze Age, Copper Age, anything like that, like restoration and conservation generally are going to have a much bigger hit on the value of the book because those books are pretty common. I mean, in X-Men #1, there's probably, I don't know, almost 6,000 universal copies graded. I mean, let's check. Let's, well, it's the conserved ones, but it should still show us the numbers. Yeah, okay, so it's 6,000 total, 4,300 universal signature series, so about 5,000 unrestored, I guess. And so, I mean, there's a lot of those books out there. So you don't need to like kind of like really hunt for something and just take what you can get. You know, when it's the golden age, maybe there's only a few copies, like 100 copies or less, or that kind of thing. Like conservation, restoration, going for those books makes a lot more sense. But in Silver Age, especially paying more than current going rate, I don't know, very surprising to me. All right, let's move on to the next one. We've got Fantastic Four #5 and a 7.5. First appearance of Dr. Doom, $18,499. But let's see what it actually sold for. Maybe it did sell for that. I don't know. I didn't check any of these other than that first one. So let's take out maybe the exclamation point is breaking it there. Yeah, there we go. So this one sold for $15,950. So in this case, went for about $2,500 less than what eBay showed the sold price as. So again, just that's why you've got to confirm those things. You cannot just assume that this book sold for the price that eBay says that it sold for. And I realize these say best offer, so somebody could have sent an offer, but there's other times where it doesn't say best offer, where somebody sent a offer through their messaging system. And then that doesn't show up as best offer here. So just to be aware. So this book sold for, again, $15,950. Let's go check out Fantastic Four #5. So Fantastic Four #5. Marvel Comics. 1962, first appearance of Dr. Doom in a 7.5. So there's that sale, $15,950. And we look at the 2025 sales. We've had 3 sales, 18,000, 14,200, 15,950. So those are the 3 sales. Last year, only one at 18,000. I mean, based on current prices, I mean, yeah, I probably would have said like 15.5. You know, like when you have a bigger sale and then a much lower sale, I tend to lean a little more towards the more recent sale. So I wouldn't have gone right at 16, but 16 is pretty reasonable based on prior sales. I'll say Fantastic Four 5, like the first Doctor Doom, has made me nervous just because of the big price jumps that it's had and that it's still up. I mean, if we look at the pre-comic boom prices, this book was going for like, I mean, 2018, roughly 12,000, but man, $5,000 sale. 2020 going for 8,000 to 9,000. 2016, 3,000 to 4,000, and now up at 16,000 plus. I mean, double what it was roughly during the comic boom or prior to the comic boom period. Those price jumps make me nervous where it's still up at that big elevated price. Now we have had all this news with Dr. Doom, and we had him in the Fantastic Four movie in the end credit scene. I mean, if you haven't seen it yet, I'm not afraid of spoiling that for you. You should have seen it by now. And so like, that's the one thing that's made me nervous about this book, is that it's still very elevated from where it was prior to the comic boom. But I think this was a very respectable sale. So selling for 15,950, I think maybe like a little high from where I might have put it, but still a very, very respectable sale for that book. And I realize it's down from $40,000 during the comic boom, but I'm not really comparing it to where it was during that period. I'm looking at where I think it should be now based on current sales. I think that was a strong, respectable sale for that book. All right, let's move on to Amazing Fantasy 15, a 2.0, nice looking 2.0. It's got some chipping on the side, but overall, this is a really solid presenting 2.0. I'm guessing there's some splitting and all that kind of thing on this book, but good looking book. So let's take a look at what this one really sold for. It says it sold for $22,099. Did it sell for $22,099? And it did. This one actually sold for the price that it says on eBay. So $22,099 for a 2.0. And based on what I've seen with recent sales, I'm going to say, like, without even checking yet, this is a pretty strong sale. So Amazing Fantasy number 15. So 1962, again, first appearance of Spider-Man 2.0. Let's find that sale. So here's that sale. Yeah, I mean, look at this. Like the 90-day average, 19.4. The let's see what's that. The 12-month. I think that's the 12-month. Yeah, the 12-month average being at 20,000. So 22,000. You know, roughly $11,000 a point is a strong sale. That's the highest sale of the year. I mean, 19, 16.2. I mean, 16.2. I wonder if that one just looked bad or something. 20, 21. So yeah, strongest sale of the year for this book. And it's hard to say, like, is it starting to trend back up again? Or was this just, you know, a little bit of an outlier? But Amazing Fantasy 15 is one of those books that when you look at the long-term trends of this book, I mean, yeah, you're going to have fluctuations. You're always going to have fluctuations. But it just seems to trend up over time. It seems to be a pretty safe book over long periods of time. I mean, Spider-Man is the most popular character in the world. So yeah, solid sale, sold for roughly the same as the 2.5 up here. So very strong sale for that 2.0. So eBay doing pretty good so far with the first three. I mean, this X-Men one, I mean, I think significantly beating what I would have expected for that book. I probably would have expected more like 8, maybe 9, but like probably 8.5. Went for over 11,000. Then we had the Fantastic Four number 5. Like I said, I probably would have expected about 15.5, somewhere in that range. And it went for, what was it? A little over 16. I think that's what it was. It was just under 16. Yeah, I think it was like 15,950. And then we have the Amazing Fantasy 15, which I probably would have expected this book, you know, at a 2.0 to be going somewhere around 19.5 to 2,000. Went for 22,000. So eBay, big book sales, doing good so far this week. All right. Now let's move on. We got a golden age book here and a big one. We've got the first appearance of the Riddler in a 7.0 Detective Comics number 140. That is a big sale. This one I expect is going to be the price because it's a My Comic Shop sale, but we'll see. We'll confirm. So yeah, 23,000, and it said 23,000. So it doesn't. There's no best offer thing here. My Comic Shop isn't messaging people through eBay's platform, so you can usually say that that's probably the actual sold price. So 23,000. Let's take a look. Detective Comics 140. So Detective number 140. I have owned this book one time. It is a cool book. I do like this one. I actually like the cover for his second appearance a little bit more. I like the appearance a little bit more, but still very cool to have that first Riddler on the cover. So a 7.0, we can see here for 23,000. And let's look. We have had one other sale. We had is it the same book? It is same book. So somebody bought this book on. They bought it on. That's hilarious. So they bought it on My Comic Shop and then took the book and flipped it through My Comic Shop on eBay 8 months later. Now, I mean, I don't know how much they made because I don't know exactly what the fees are on My Comic Shop with a book like this. If it's like 8% or something. So probably mostly broke even if, if they, especially with taxes and stuff. So I don't know, but I mean, they didn't lose money, I guess, but actually the same book, this is kind of interesting, especially through the same platform. So we have a 5.0 here going for 11,000 recently. Let's see, we had an 8.5 go for 52,000. I mean, not an easy book to price, but I mean, it's down from the comic boom period, down about 30%. I don't think that's unreasonable. That's largely what I've seen with this book. I have seen some big drops, especially because it really got a lot of attention because of the Batman movie. And so you had some really big sales back then. I mean, look, like 2022, 17,000 down to roughly 12,000. Again, that's about 30%. Let's see if we have any others. See if there's anything with a 3.5. 3.5, 2022, actually went up a little bit. So the lower grades maybe holding up a little better than the higher grades. But this book, yeah, I mean, based on the prior sale, I probably would have thought somewhere around 21 to 22. So again, I feel like that's a very respectable sale for this book. A really respectable sale for Detective Comics, number 140, 7.0. Nice looking copy. I mean, I'm curious how many, let's see how many are out there that are even better than that. So it can't be too many. I mean, it's a little bit later in the golden age, 1948, but let's see. So we've got 170 universals, 7 and a 7.0. So only 11, 14, 16, only 17 graded higher. And that is a nice copy of that book. It's almost in the top 10%, just outside of the top 10% for that book. So very nice copy of that book. All right, let's move on to the last book. This was the most expensive, maybe. This may have been the most expensive because you got to remember, like, I looked at these without having checked what the offer was. So we have a Tales of Suspense. Actually, I guess it would be tied, so 23,000. Tales of Suspense, number 39 in a 7.0. Let's see what this one really sold for. So plug that in here. First appearance, Iron Man. Also sold for 23,000. So we're going to go down to shipping. So 18, that was $18 in shipping. What was this one? This one was 0 shipping. All right. So Tales of Suspense, number 39. If we add in the shipping, was legitimately the most expensive book that sold in the last week. Graded comic that sold in the last week. So first appearance, Iron Man. Again, nice looking copy. Does not have either the quotes on the side here. If you're wondering, that's often something people will look for. I mean, it's a little minor detail, but people call them double quote copies, where you've got the 2 quotes over here. There's also 2 quotes over here, but with the wrap of the book, they are more often than not cut off. Then do we have the blue below? We do have the blue below the table. So it has that going for it. That is also often cut off. It's often shifted up. So this says half of what people are looking for. It doesn't have the quotes. But let's take a look. Let's check out the price for this one, see how it did. Tales of Suspense, number 39 in a 7.0. Again, a very nice copy of that book. Kind of surprising when you think about it, that you have a Golden Age 7.0 and a Silver Age 7.0 for 2 big characters selling for the same amount. Just shows that, because there's going to be, obviously there were way more of this book, that Iron Man, more desirable character to collect than Riddler. I don't think that's, a hot take, but Batman villains are very popular. So we've got 23,000, and again, looks like a strong sale. I mean, this year, not the highest of the year, but we had 23,499, then we had a 19.8, and then 23. And then let's see what else we got here. So, I mean, going down to a 6.5. I mean, look at that drop in price. Like, that is a big gap up when you go from a 6.5 to a 7. 6.5 going for 13 to 14,000, 7.0 going for over 20. So yeah, definitely, like, you will often see that out there. You have these big gaps, and sometimes it has to do with where it is in terms of percentage on the census. Sometimes it's just people want that solid number, the 7.0 versus the 6.5. So you end up getting a big jump up there. But yeah, I mean, again, very solid sale. I mean, I got to say, across the board on these big books on eBay, we saw some really respectable, strong sales. X-Men number 1 definitely beat out what I was expecting. The Fantastic Four number 5 by a little bit. Amazing Fantasy 15 by a couple thousand. Detective Comics 140. This one's a little trickier. Obviously, it doesn't sell as often, but I don't know if I'd expected it to jump up after a last sale so recent. Obviously, even with the same book, but it did. And then Tales of Suspense number 39, beating out, the most recent sales averages as well. I mean, beating out the average from 2024 as well as the 12-month average as well as the 90-day average. So very respectable numbers for these books. Still does, roughly seems like maybe it's still trending down a little bit, but yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you think. I mean, I'm pretty impressed with these, but yeah, always remember, make sure you go and when you're looking at sold prices, just to confirm if you're using that as a point of reference. And like you saw, if you use GPA, you get the actual sold number. You don't have to mess around with this stuff, but using the product research tool is a way for you to do it if you want to save yourself a couple bucks and not use GPA. But hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell, and I will see you on the next one.